The peace that wasn't the blood of 99 million. The ash still whispered when the wind blew across the plains of Elysium Prime. What had once been a paradise of silver towers and green oceans was now a silent desert of glass and bones. The bombardment had ended weeks ago, but the ground still pulsed with heat. The air smelled of iron, smoke, and the faint static of radiation storms. Commander Lyra Voss walked through the ruins, her uniform torn and stained with soot. Her boots crunched on blackened earth that used to be a city. Her helmet display flickered with casualty numbers, millions upon millions, each line a name, each name a ghost. The Galactic Empire called it a containment strike. Humanity called it murder. Lyra stopped beside a crater where the Children's Academy of Nova Heights once stood. A twisted fragment of playground metal lay half-buried in the ash, bright red paint still clinging to the steel. She knelt and brushed away soot, revealing a melted plaque. For the dreamers of tomorrow. Her hand trembled. Tomorrow had died here. She heard footsteps behind her. Lieutenant Marin, her second-in-command, approached in silence, helmet tucked under his arm. His face was drawn, eyes hollow. "Command wants you back, ma'am," he said softly. "They're calling for a peace summit." Lyra turned slowly, her gaze hard as obsidian. "Peace? After this?" "The United Earth Council thinks it's the only option," Marin replied. "We can't win a total war against the Empire." "Not yet." Lyra looked out over the wasteland. The horizon shimmered like molten glass. "Not yet," she repeated. "But one day." She didn't say it aloud, but her heart burned with a single name: Jonas. Her husband. Her weapon. He had been off-world during the attack, serving with Shadow Division, Earth's Black Ops specters that didn't officially exist. The Empire had called them terrorists. The humans called them the Silent Guard. If Jonas had been here, Elysium Prime might have had a chance. 2 weeks later, the Imperial Concordium station hung above a white dwarf star, gleaming like a crown of light. It was here that peace would be signed. Lyra stood before the viewport of her diplomatic transport, watching the colossal station grow larger. Her reflection stared back. Haunted eyes, healed scars along her jaw, the faint shimmer of rank insignia on her shoulder. She wore her formal military blacks, the metals dull under sterile light. The uniform felt heavier than armor. A voice crackled through her comms. "Commander Voss, docking clearance confirmed. You are the sole human delegate authorized for planetary entry." "Understood," she said flatly. Marin's voice came next, low and uncertain. "You sure about this, ma'am? Those aliens don't want peace. They want a performance." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then I'll give them one." As the airlock hissed open, a wave of cold, sterile air swept over her. The Galactic Council chamber was blinding white, its architecture curved and perfect, as though carved by mathematics itself. Rows of alien dignitaries sat behind elevated desks, scaled, feathered, luminescent, chitinous. Hundreds of species united in judgment. At the center, beneath a column of radiant light, floated Emperor Xyrix, his massive cephalopod form encased in transparent armor, his tendrils draped with royal sigils. "Commander Lyra Voss," the Emperor's voice thundered, translated through shimmering light fields. "Representative of the Terran race." Lyra stood before him, unflinching. "You slaughtered 99 million of my people." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Xyrix's tendrils coiled lazily. "We eliminated an infestation. Humanity built colonies in a forbidden sector. You knew the laws." "The laws of tyrants are not laws," Lyra said. Xyrix leaned forward, the light glinting off his translucent skull. "You misunderstand your place. The Council's mercy spared your homeworld. You should kneel in gratitude." Lyra's eyes burned. "You bombed our children, our hospitals. You called it mercy." The Emperor gave a slow, deliberate laugh that echoed like thunder underwater. "You humans and your drama, always pretending to be victims when your ambition brings your own ruin." The other aliens chuckled. Some clapped their clawed hands softly, like it was a show. Lyra took a deep breath, steadied her voice, and placed a small hollow projector on the central dais. Images flickered to life, mass graves under broken domes, children's bodies pulled from the rubble, the last transmissions of colonists screaming into the void. The laughter stopped. The silence became unbearable. "Look at them," she said. "Remember their faces. This is what your peace looks like." A lesser alien delegate hissed. "Emotional manipulation. Humans always." "Enough." Lyra's voice cracked through the chamber. "You killed 99 million civilians, and you call it justified." The Emperor's tendrils rippled in amusement. "We corrected overpopulation. You should be grateful we left enough of you to rebuild." Lyra's eyes met his, and something in her expression shifted, grief becoming steel. She whispered into her communicator, almost inaudible. "He was right. You'd mock them." Then louder, her voice steady and cold. "You killed our 99 million humans, Galactic Empire." The Emperor tilted his head, curious. "And what will you do, little soldier?" Lyra smiled. A small, broken thing that carried the weight of a world. So Earth unleashed the Baba Yaga. Her communicator blinked once. Message sent. Across 100 light years, something woke in the dark. Lyra looked up at the Emperor one last time, and her final words were quiet but lethal. "He's coming for you." "The Council of Liars, you killed our 99 million. Silence followed Lyra's words. Her voice still echoed through the council chamber like the memory of thunder after lightning. Low, final, unanswerable. For a moment, even the alien dignitaries seemed unsure whether they had heard her correctly. Then laughter began. A hissing, clicking, rumbling wave of amusement spread through the vast white dome. Dozens of alien representatives leaned toward one another, whispering in their various tongues. The Galactic Council had never feared humanity. To them, humans were a new species with too much pride and too little power, a spark beneath an ocean. Emperor Xyrix floated above his throne, tendrils twitching in amusement. "The Baba Yaga," he repeated, the words awkward in his translated tongue. "An Earth myth, yes? A witch from your children's tales." Lyra said nothing. She stood tall, expression unreadable. Xyrix's grin widened. "Then let your myths comfort you, little human. The Empire does not answer to ghosts." Behind her, the guards moved, tall reptilian enforcers in ceremonial armor, their rifles humming with containment charges. One stepped forward and reached for her shoulder. Lyra did not resist. She only looked at the Emperor and spoke softly into the translator's microphone. "When you see him, you'll understand." The Emperor gave a dry, rattling laugh. "And who, Commander Voss? Is this him you threaten us with?" Lyra met his eyes. "My husband." Gasps rippled through the chamber. The phrase carried weight in every language. My husband. Not a soldier, not a weapon. A man who had lost everything. The guards seized her arms, their claws biting into the fabric of her uniform. She didn't struggle. Instead, her eyes lifted to the high dome where the council's energy field shimmered faintly. Her communicator blinked twice. A tremor passed through the station. The laughter faltered. One of the counselors, a crystalline being from the Hesteran Combine, flicked his sensory filaments nervously. "Did anyone authorize a warp jump within this system?" "No," hissed another. "All hyperspace lanes are restricted during the Peace Summit." Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. "You should have checked Earth's protocols." On the far wall, the viewports darkened as shadows moved across the stars. Massive, black, angular objects emerging from the void. No energy signatures. No transponder codes. Just silence. The Emperor's voice sharpened. "What is that?" Lyra turned her head slightly toward him. "Justice." Alarms blared. The station's defensive grids activated. Hundreds of alien soldiers poured into the chamber's side corridors. The dignitaries rose in panic as the shadows drew closer. Then the main viewport filled with darkness, a single obsidian vessel descending like an eclipse. It was angular, predatory, marked only with one insignia, a stylized skull crowned by wings of flame. The Revenant-class dreadnought, the Baba Yaga's ship. Within the void, the ship came alive. Jonas Voss stood on the command deck, his face lit by the cold glow of 1,000 data feeds. His eyes, cybernetically enhanced after a dozen near-deaths, glowed faintly blue. His black combat armor bore the insignia of Earth's Shadow Division, the unit the Empire had sworn was myth. "Confirm target," he said calmly. "Target confirmed," replied his AI, a woman's voice soft and eerily human. "Imperial Concordium Station. Estimated population, 1.3 million. High-value diplomatic personnel, confirmed." Jonas closed his eyes briefly. Behind his eyelids, he saw her, Lyra, standing amid the ruins of Elysium Prime, the wind full of ash. They'd killed her world. His wife's world. He opened his eyes. No orbital strike. Not yet. Orders. Board and extract Commander Voss. Leave a message. Back in the chamber, the walls trembled. The first explosion tore through the outer decks, a clean, control breach. The lights flickered as gravity shifted. Guards staggered. Dignitaries screamed. Xyrix roared. Defensive teams. Contain the intruder. Lyra lifted her chin, watching calm amidst chaos. "You shouldn't have mocked our dead." The chamber doors burst inward. Smoke rolled through the opening, and a figure stepped out, tall, armored in matte black plates that drank the light. His visor glowed faint blue, like a ghost risen from the abyss. Jonas Voss had arrived. Alien guards opened fire. Energy bolts flared. The shots bent away, absorbed by distortion fields. Jonas moved like a phantom, his movements precise, brutal, unstoppable. A guard lunged. Jonas caught his wrist, twisted, and slammed the alien through a marble bench with a bone-shattering crack. The chamber filled with panic. Diplomats scattered. Drones descended, small and silent, releasing EMP bursts that crippled alien weapons. Lyra wrenched free from her captors as Jonas strode toward her. For a moment, the chaos fell away. Their eyes met. "You came," she whispered. "You called," he said simply. She almost smiled. Then his tone turned iron. "Which one is Xyrix?" Lyra nodded toward the floating throne. The big one who thought genocide was a diplomatic gesture. Jonas turned. The Emperor tried to retreat, his armored shell retreating behind energy shields. "You will regret this." Xyrix bellowed. "You cannot fight the Empire." Jonas walked through the storm of plasma, fire like a god walking through rain. "I already am." He raised his gauntlet. A small orb pulsed in his palm. "This is for Elysium Prime." He threw it. A pulse of light erupted, a shockwave of anti-gravity energy that ripped the throne apart and hurled the Emperor backward, his tendrils flailing in agony. When the light faded, half the chamber lay in ruin. Smoke curled upward into the cracked dome. Jonas stood in the center, chest rising slow and steady. He looked down at the shattered remains of Xyrix's throne. "Tell the galaxy," he said to the stunned counselors. "Earth remembers." Lyra stepped beside him, brushing blood from her cheek. "And Earth doesn't forgive." He looked at her, and for the briefest moment, the ghost of a smile crossed his face. Then his visor dimmed. "Extraction in 2 minutes. We're not done yet." Together, they walked through the smoke. The human monsters the galaxy had hoped were myths, now very, very real. And as they left the chamber, the words Lyra had spoken echoed through every transmission, broadcast to every corner of the Empire. "You killed our 99 million humans, Galactic Empire. So Earth unleashed the Baba Yaga, her husband. The Baba Yaga unleashed Earth's monster." Smoke bled through the shattered skylight of the council chamber. The white marble walls were blackened, the air thick with burnt ozone. Lyra's breath came hard through her cracked visor, the world vibrating with alarm sirens. Around her, alien dignitaries clawed at exits or cowered beneath their seats, galactic royalty reduced to frightened prey. Beside her, Jonas Voss moved like a machine carved from purpose. His exosuit was a masterpiece of human defiance, black composite armor traced with faint blue veins of energy. Each step left a faint distortion in the air. The alien eyes that dared to meet his saw not a soldier, but an inevitability. Secondary decks report hostile presence. A voice hissed through the council's comms. Unidentified drones breaching, defense grid collapsing. Lyra smirked beneath her cracked visor. "Your grid's dead, Your Excellency," she called. "We built it." Emperor Xyrix's damaged form twitched within his cracked containment shell. Half his tendrils were scorched. His translucent flesh glowed with burns. He was still alive, barely. The great ruler of the Galactic Empire was staring at a man he couldn't classify. "You are nothing," Xyrix hissed through bubbling fluid. "One species against billions. The Empire will erase your world." Jonas crouched, leveling his gaze at the Emperor. His voice was quiet, too calm. "You already tried." He rose, turned to Lyra. "We're not here for conquest. We're here for remembrance." Then, without hesitation, he triggered his command uplink. Far above the station, the Revenant stirred. The Black Dreadnought's systems awakened in synchronized fury. Thousands of autonomous drones deployed like a cloud of metallic locusts. Some latched onto the station hull, cutting through armor plating. Others formed a perimeter, jamming all transmissions. The galactic fleets stationed nearby scrambled, their ships pivoting toward the intruder. But the moment they powered up their drives, Earth's hidden fleet appeared behind them. 3 cruisers emerging from Phase Cloak. Their hulls bore no insignia. Admiral Kaido to Revenant. "The leash is off. You have full clearance." Jonas's voice crackled back, flat and cold. "Acknowledged." He looked down at Lyra. "Stay behind me." "I wasn't planning to sit down," she said, grabbing a fallen plasma rifle from a dead guard. A faint grin tugged at the corner of his mouth. For one heartbeat, the monsters looked like a couple again. 2 soldiers standing in the wreckage of civilization, shoulder to shoulder against the universe. The corridor leading out of the chamber was chaos. Alien troops poured in from both sides, their armor gleaming in hues of gold and violet. Bolts of plasma ripped through the air. Jonas raised his gauntlet, projecting a micro-barrier. The first volley hit, energy scattering like rain off glass. He countered with precision, short bursts, non-wasteful. Every movement calculated. He fought not like a berserker, but like a surgeon. When one enemy fell, another took its place. Lyra covered his flank, firing disciplined shots, using the overturned marble benches as cover. "Jonas, rear corridors sealed," she warned. "I know." He tapped his forearm screen. "I'm not escaping. I'm uploading." "Uploading what?" "Their sins." The Revenant's main AI, the ghostly female voice that guided him, interrupted through the comlink. "Data siphon complete. All recordings of the Elysium massacre now transmitted to public galactic networks." Lyra blinked. "You mean every citizen in the Empire just saw what they did?" Jonas said. "No more propaganda. No more lies." The sound of boots echoed down the hall, dozens more soldiers approaching. Jonas placed his hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Time to finish it." They pushed into the Grand Spire, a colossal tower at the heart of the station that contained the Empire's neural control relay. Every Imperial world's communications passed through here. Inside, streams of holographic data cascaded through the air. The chamber pulsed with power. Hundreds of alien engineers screamed and fled as Jonas entered, his presence freezing the air. He walked to the central core, a sphere of living crystal, glowing like a captive star. "This is their god," he muttered, "their throne of obedience." He pressed a palm against it. His suit's neural filaments snaked into the surface, linking his mind to the Empire's heart. Data screamed through him. Languages, memories, propaganda, cruelty. Lyra watched as his body trembled. The suit's lights flickered violently. "Jonas, stop. You'll burn your neural net." His voice strained through clenched teeth. "If it means they remember, I'll take it." He injected Earth's virus into the core. Operation Revenant's final act. Every Imperial archive, every state record, every encrypted command structure was now infected with one repeating message. "You killed 99 million humans. We remember. We are coming." The relay screamed, its light flaring bright enough to cast shadows across the star system. Every Imperial ship, every broadcast across 10,000 worlds froze as those words appeared. "Jonas!" Lyra shouted, grabbing his arm. The crystal cracked, exploding in shards of blue light. The overload threw them both to the ground. Alarms wailed, fires roared. The entire spire began to shake as containment fields failed. He forced himself to his knees, sparks jumping across his armor. The AI's voice whispered in his ear. "Mission accomplished. Recommend immediate extraction." Lyra dragged him up, half carrying him toward the evacuation deck. Behind them, the tower collapsed. The Empire's control network, centuries old, died screaming. As they reached the hangar bay, a squad of alien guards blocked the exit. The leader, a tall insectoid commander, raised his weapon. "Human," it screeched. "You've doomed the galaxy." Jonas lifted his pistol slowly. "No," he said. "We freed it." He fired once. The insectoid fell. The docking bay doors opened, revealing the Revenant waiting beyond, its hull gleaming like midnight oil. Grapple drones extended, locking onto the airlock. Lyra turned to look one last time at the burning station. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" she asked. Jonas didn't answer immediately. He looked back at the flames, at the dying light of a civilization that had believed itself untouchable. "Understanding isn't the point," he said. "Remembrance is." The airlock sealed, the Revenant detached, engines flaring. Below them, the Imperial Concordium station split apart in a silent explosion, its debris scattering across the void. The galaxy had just witnessed its gods bleed, and somewhere in the darkness, whispers began. The Baba Yaga walks again. The reckoning, the day the Empire burned. The fire that consumed the Imperial Concordium station could be seen from orbit. A vast, silent blossom of blue and gold that tore through the void like a dying sun. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had ruled through fear. That day, it learned what fear truly was. From the bridge of the Revenant, Jonas Voss watched the explosion expand in the black. Fragments of alien architecture spun like meteors. The Emperor's flagship, once a symbol of immortal power, now drifted in pieces across the starlight. Lyra stood beside him, one arm bandaged, face illuminated by the infernal glow of destruction. Neither spoke for a long while. The silence between them wasn't emptiness, it was gravity, pulling the moment deeper into memory. "Transmission reports," said the ship's AI, its voice calm and almost reverent. "Every Imperial channel has been overwritten. Every world now broadcasts your message." Jonas nodded slowly. "Then they know." Lyra turned toward him, her expression caught between pride and sorrow. "You did it. The truth's out. Every species under their control knows what they did to Elysium Prime." Jonas' jaw tightened. "Truth doesn't bring back the dead." "No," she said softly, "but it stops the next 99 million. Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate. On the Karnathi homeworld, slave laborers threw down their tools and rioted, screaming the human phrase that had spread like wildfire. We remember, on Theller's moon colonies, news broadcasts replayed the images of human children burned to ash. Entire fleets refused to follow Imperial commands. And on 1,000 minor worlds, graffiti appeared overnight. The mark of a skull crowned by wings of fire. The mark of the Baba Yaga. Hours later, the human fleet rendezvoused in deep space. Over 100 stealth ships decloaked in formation, their hulls black against the stars. Admiral Kaido's voice crackled through the comms. "Baba Yaga, reports status. Station destroyed. Emperor neutralized," Jonas replied. "Lyra is secure. Operation Revenant achieved total dissemination." "Understood," Kaido said. "Allied colonies are rising. The Empire's networks are in chaos. You've lit the match." Lyra stepped forward. "What's Earth's order now, Admiral?" There was a pause, and then, "Now we watch them burn." The next weeks unfolded like the unraveling of a star. Without central command, the Galactic Empire fractured. Vassal species, once crushed under its dominion, rose in rebellion. The human fleets didn't conquer, they guided. Shadow Division operatives slipped into systems, arming insurgents, broadcasting truths, exposing crimes. Jonas and Lyra led from the front. Where the Empire tried to rebuild, the Revenant appeared. Where its admirals gathered fleets, human sabotage tore them apart. And everywhere, the legend grew. The aliens whispered it in fear. The Baba Yaga hunts in the dark. Some called him death. Others called him justice. But humanity called him Jonas Voss, husband, soldier, survivor. The man who turned grief into retribution. On the 5th week, the Empire's last fortress world, Elysium Prime, faced its reckoning. Human and rebel ships surrounded the planet, their engines burning like halos. Anti-orbital cannons roared from the surface, but they were futile. The Revenant descended through the fire, leading the strike. Lyra stood at the viewport, watching the storms of flame twist across the planet's clouds. "This is where he was born," she said quietly. "Xyrix, the Emperor. You sure about this?" Jonas adjusted his gauntlet, scanning tactical feeds. He made his world an altar of obedience. "We'll make it a monument to the fallen." The AI's voice chimed in. "Target lock confirmed. Planetary Command Spire located." Jonas looked to Lyra. "Final authorization, Commander." She stared at the planet, at the civilization that had mocked her dead. Her fingers brushed the scar on her cheek, the mark of the Empire's cruelty. "Do it," she said. Jonas keyed the firing sequence. "By order of the human race," he said quietly, "for the 99 million. The Revenant's primary weapon fired, a lance of white energy cutting through atmosphere and stone. It struck the spire dead center. The entire structure melted into vapor, the shockwave flattening the surrounding cities. For the first time in history, the capital of the Galactic Empire was silent. Hours later, the fleet hung over the dead world. The fires below glowed like embers fading in the wind. On the bridge, Lyra leaned on the console, exhausted. "It's over," she whispered. Jonas didn't answer. He stared out into the void, expression unreadable. The vengeance was complete, but vengeance was never peace. "Jonas," she said softly, "what happens now?" He turned to her, his voice low. "Now we remember them properly." She tilted her head. "Ow!" He walked to the communications terminal and transmitted one final signal to Earth Command. "To every human world, every colony, every ship, light the beacons. For the dead of Elysium Prime." Moments later, across the void, stars began to glow. Not real stars, but artificial satellites and station flares, each burning with white fire. Every colony joined the signal, from Mars to Andromeda Gate. The galaxy watched as humanity's constellation blazed to life. A single phrase traced in coded light across the heavens. "We remember." Lyra's throat tightened as she watched. For the first time in years, the weight of grief eased. Jonas placed a hand over hers. "They'll never erase us again," he said. "No," she agreed, "because now they fear us." The AI's voice whispered, soft as a prayer. "Incoming transmissions, thousands of them. Rebel leaders pledging alliance. Alien species requesting Earth's protection. They call you the keepers of memory." Jonas exhaled slowly. "Not conquerors," he said. "Guardians." He looked once more at the shattered world below. "Let that be the last empire." The Revenant turned, engines igniting as it left the battlefield behind. In its wake drifted the remains of tyranny and the quiet birth of something new. As the ship faded into the dark, a voice echoed across the galaxy, carried on every stolen broadcast. "You killed our 99 million humans, Galactic Empire." So Earth unleashed the Baba Yaga, her husband. And when the smoke cleared, only one truth remained. Humanity endures,